This is the AlphaPix 16 from holidaycore.com. This controller has been designed from the ground up to be one of the easiest controllers on the market to configure and utilize. And we started by adding a backlit LCD display configurable from the 5 buttons located on the front. This LCD display allows you to completely configure the controller, all the protocol settings, all of the IP addressing, and to receive status feedback on what the controller is doing. So no more guessing about what's going on inside of that controller. You'll see it right there on your LCD display. And if that weren't enough, we also provide 3 status LEDs for major functions. Now, in addition to the LCD configuration, you can utilize a standard web browser on practically any device. So if you have an iPad, Windows, Linux, Mac, it doesn't matter. You can configure this device additionally using a regular web browser. So let's look at some of the hardware that comprises the AlphaPix. On the front here, we have a standard Cat 5 plug with Ethernet jack. This has a built-in status and link light activity indicator, and it's all marked right here on the PCB, so you're not left guessing what light means what. Here we have 3 jacks. These 3 jacks are for RS485. They are fully pluggable. They're removable using Euro-style plugging. These allow you to utilize legacy-based devices, including 3-channel, 27-channel, 24-channel, and other RS485-based devices, including LOR controllers running in DMX mode. These are independent of the outputs, unlike other controllers on the market. This means that you can utilize these 3 separate outputs, which are 3 universes of RS485 DMX, independent of your SPI output. So, you're not going to have to utilize or lose any of your outputs for pixels to utilize them. Now, on the controller itself, you can see that we use blade-style replaceable fuses. Make it easier, you can purchase these at any hardware store. And on the actual pixels themselves, we know you get tired of having to go back to the manual to figure out what in the world the wiring is on these plugs. So we went ahead and printed it on every single plug. Not even just once on the board, every plug. And we clearly label output 9. No little crazy labeling with some T9 or 08. Right there on the plug. Now, all the plugs, of course, fully Euro-style, pluggable, replaceable connections here. Now, speaking of replaceable connections, we also, should you accidentally short the outputs of the data or clock line, you can easily replace them using a just simple several dollar chip. This chip is replaceable. You can see that there are 4 throughout the board. Pull it out, replace it. It's clearly marked on the board as to how to replace it. Oh, on the other end of the board here, we have the power jacks. Now, this controller is broken down into 2 banks. One bank is 1 through 8, and the other is 9 through 16. And the input for the power is located here and here. These take 10 gauge connections, so you can put really heavy gauge wire into these. And the total input capability is 48 amps, or 3 amps per output, up to a maximum of 5 amps per output, if you use less than all of the outputs. So, a total of 48 amps across the entire controller, or 24 amps per bank. Okay, now also we have 4 mounting holes in here, clearly spaced. They have plenty of room for washers, and we do sell a full mounting kit for this. So if you want to mount it in a CG1500 enclosure, no problem. That will be easily accessible and possible. From a software standpoint, this controller has huge control. It has 340 pixels per output. That allows over this entire board a total of 5,440 pixels. Now that's not DMX channels, it's 5,440 of pixels. So, in most cases, this controller is going to be more than sufficient to drive almost every kind of display. Now, in terms of functionality, there are a whole series of different functions, and we won't cover every single one of them. Check our webpage for additional details, but it supports all the standard features such as null pixels, reverse DMX, zigzag addressing, color ordering, and it includes 22 test functions and test features. That allows you to test out your tree, test out your matrix when you're out in your display without having to go inside, load up additional software. You can test for individual colors, or even if you wish to use your controller in an off-season application where you don't have a controller or input device to drive it, you can use that. It supports every common pixel protocol on the market today, including the big ones like 2811, 1803, 1804, 6803, TLS 3001. All of the standard ones easily supported in this controller and configurable again, all right from the LCD display. We think this controller is a great bargain, and we think it will be a wonderful addition to your display.